Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And today I get the absolute privilege to hang out with a really quality, awesome, talented musician named Jade Mallender. How loud was that? We're going to kick off with a track called Rise. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I hope you're all doing well. If you're watching on Facebook, welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. If you're watching on Twitch, welcome to you as well. And if you're watching on the replay, we love you too. I hope you, as I said, I hope you're all doing well. It's my second show back. I'm feeling good. Yeah. So I'm going to feel a lot better after this because been a long time wanting to catch up with this person. I first came across him on YouTube as a YouTube content creator. Around this whole iOS music making caper, you know, that we all kind of do. And he referred to himself all the time as this hippie and pissy pantsing about and all this stuff. And I wanted to know more about this wonderful person because and the more you scratch the surface, the more you find this person is incredibly talented and done a good many things and so many more things to come. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jamie Mallender. How are you today, Jamie?
Great, thank you. How are you, Jade?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you.
And you. It's nice to have you back.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And hopefully you're back doing some live streaming too. I mean, what's going on with that?
Well, I've not live streamed for a little while because over the last few weeks a lot's been changing for me with lockdown sort of gradually coming to an end, and the prospect of maybe some live gigs. So the various bands I'm in have not played together for quite some time. So there's been a lot of rehearsing, a few gigs, and also my kids keep getting sent home from school to isolate because of COVID cases, in their year at school. So I've had my kids to look after a lot more than I normally would have. So I just had to knock the live streaming on the head for a little while I could kind of gather myself, and also I need to pick a better time to stream than I was as well. So I will be doing it again, but I'm just sort of trying to get my head around it, I guess.
Awesome, that's good to hear. So that I a lot of us are in this situation too, where we had a bit of luxury not luxury. During COVID, we were kind of had more time on our hands to do these things, but at the same time we're all struggling with money, and then we all had to go back into the real world. That sucked.
Yeah.
How have you found, like, you have actually gone back into the real world? Are you playing gigs and stuff now?
Yeah, we've done a few. Yeah. Yeah.
Before we get into all the typical, and thank you everybody in the chat for pointing out I had an echo. I've sorted it. New studio, new rules, so I'm still getting used to them. How has that been, playing gigs again after 14 months locked in our houses?
Well, very strange. I mean, I wasn't actually sure. When I went out to do my first gig, I kind of felt a bit like, do I really want to do, after such a long break? I almost felt like I got used to not playing, and I wasn't really sure that I'd missed it that much because I've been doing YouTube. I've just been all focused on that. But then I did my first gig playing bass with the band, and I did really, really enjoy it. We had a fantastic night, and I realised I had missed it. But the gigs that I've done playing bass for a band, I've really, really enjoyed. But I did do a couple of acoustic shows as well, where it's just me and an acoustic guitar, and I did feel kind of very exposed.
Yeah.
Almost a little bit anxious in a way that I'm not used to feeling, because I don't normally have those feelings. I don't have nerves about gigs, or I don't struggle with anxiety or anything, but so it was like, after all those years of playing, because I've kind of done it more or less constantly since I was at school, so that's a long time, but I did kind of feel like almost nerves for the first time I've ever really experienced it.
I'm curious to know, what were the people like? We talked about this briefly before we come on. It seems since the world's opened, people have forgot how to be human. Like, I watched the wrestling a couple of days ago, last week I think, and somebody jumped over the barrier at the wrestling and tried to punch one of the wrestlers. It's like, people have lost their minds. And I think at a baseball match last week, somebody tried to jump the field and punch someone. And were the people like sane, or were they ravenous?
Well, interesting, because I did a club gig where the people weren't allowed to dance.
Right.
So they were allowed, and that particular band, it's all about cheesy popular dance stuff.
Yep.
And the whole point of the band is just, it's not about being a show-off musician. It's all about just entertaining regular folk. And so we're playing all this kind of up-tempo dance stuff, cheesy stuff everyone knows, and they weren't allowed to come onto the dance floor. So they were sort of standing up by their tables and having a dance next to the table. And then you've got people sat behind them who now couldn't see the band. So giving them a load of stick, you know. So they were sitting back down again. And then we did another club where everybody just sat and moaned, complained.
Oh my
with their face
God.
slapped arse all night because they couldn't get up and dance, and they're not supposed to sing along.
Oh.
Right? So they were coming up to us after the gig and saying, fantastic band, brilliant band, but we're just, you know, we're just miserable because we're not allowed to enjoy ourselves. But at the last acoustic gig I did, because you know, in that sort of circumstance, you're very close up with people. It's quite intimate.
Yeah.
And when I do an acoustic gig, I make it totally raw, because the other stuff I do is all, you know, lots of lights and smoke and, you know, try and make it a spectacle. So when I do an acoustic gig, I make it totally stripped back, and I'll play with the house lights on. So I'm right up in front of people, and I can see everyone really clearly, and they all look like a bit uncomfortable, like they didn't know how to behave. You know, like this whole thing about, you know, you can't get up from your table unless you're gonna bog, and so you have to wait for somebody to come to your table to take your order.
Yeah, right.
And if you get up to go to the toilet, you have to put a mask on. And if you see your friend on the way to the toilet, you're not allowed to go to their table to chat to them. And a lot of people just look really uncomfortable.
Bizarre, man.
Yeah.
Like I guess, you know, I understand, you know, the frustration of it. It's probably like feeling like a kid at your first day of primary school. Like, you're surrounded by all these people, you may know a few of them, and it's like, and the rest, you don't know what you can and can't do. Like, you know, or going to somebody's house who has plastic on their couches, you don't know if you can sit on it. Like, what is the deal with that anyway? So, all right, we'll get into some questions, because I want to double back kind of on this with some of the stuff you write. Let's do the usual question. Jamie, what does music mean to you?
Well, you know, I knew you were going to ask me this question, and I've been thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And I decided, first of all, that it's kind of a bit of an impossible question to answer.
Yeah.
But I ended up concluding that for me, it's life. Everything about my life is music. You know, it is what I do. It's what I think about all the time. It's my job, and it's my hobby and my passion, and I just can't imagine life without it.
Totally.
So it's to me it is my life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Last week when I wasn't here and wasn't doing the show, I totally cut social media off and music and the whole community of watching all what we do here on YouTube. And I played video games for the whole week. And there was a huge hole. It was it was really hard, but I needed to. You know, sometimes you do need to take a break. I don't know how people, like, you know, hear many stories about people who've even had on the show who've played music when they were younger, and then the comment you hear, life got in the way. They got married, had kids, and then they came back to it. So clearly it is something like I don't know if I can compare it to drugs, because, you know, it doesn't really fuck your life up. Well, you can take drugs and not fuck your life up if you do it in moderation. Moderation's a good thing. So, do you recall the music that was played in your house when you were growing up? And how has it some of the what was it, and how has it affected your musical career and what you do, what you listen to now?
Well, when I was little, my mum was the one who always had music on in the house, and it was Beatles, Queen, Carpenters, ABBA, Stevie Wonder. and I loved it. You know, I'm not one of those people who I suppose it'd be much cooler to say, you know, I hated what my parents were playing, but no, they listened to some really cool stuff, and I have all the vinyl that,
wow,
that they were playing in the house when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's. I don't think I've had too many people on the show who've said I hated what my parents played. I mean, you know, Joe listened to Pinky and Perky, so that's a completely different thing.
You didn't even know Pinky and Perky, did you?
No, I was like, what the fuck is a Pinky and Perky? I don't know. Look, I know what rainbow is. You know? I know Zippy and Bungle and all that stuff. I know some British stuff. I don't know. It's Pinky and Perky British. Anyway, look, that's really great thoroughbred music. My mum listened to similar kind of stuff. Ed B said, my parents played Cannibal Corpse. I blame them for ruining me. God, I wish I grew up in your house, dude.
Yeah, I think that's where my love of harmony stuff comes from. That was their main thing about music. Because they were in a band and they were like a folk harmony band, and that was everything they listened to had great harmonies in it.
Yep. And do you believe it influences your music that you create today?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Because I think the stuff that they were playing when I was a kid has probably remained my favorite stuff. You know, I mean, I like all kinds of music. I like most music, but those things, Beatles, Queen, you know, that really stuck with me.
Yeah, it's hard to deny any of that stuff. Really, at the end of the day, it's such high quality sounds, and has influenced so many people. There's a reason, like all these bands like ABBA and, you know, Pink Floyd and, you know, Led Zeppelin's, all these amazing bands that you hear come up, and the Beatles. There's so many to name. There's a reason, and why do you think bands like that are successful?
Why are bands like Beatles and Queen successful?
Yeah. What do you think's the ingredient?
It's the songs. It's got to be the songs, because there are some artists who are massively successful, who really mean a lot to so many people, who aren't really actually necessarily very good as you know, as musicians perhaps, or as singers.
Yeah.
You know, like say Bob Dylan. I mean, I know like a lot of people would get very upset with me for saying this, but in my opinion, I wouldn't be a YouTuber without an opinion, right? So
of course.
So in my opinion, he's a shit singer and he's not a very good guitar player, but he just writes the best songs, right?
Yeah, true.
You know?
Yeah.
So if you can write a song that good, it doesn't matter whether you can sing in tune or not.
Totally. Like I say the same thing about Kurt Cobain. You know, Nirvana were, and look, I don't think there is a magical single ingredient. Clearly, like there's time and place, the moment in history, the obviously the skill level, harmonies, all these great things that artists, you know, have. Look at Kurt Cobain. He came at a time where we were coming out of a cocaine-fueled 80s of glamour and glitz and feather boas and just craziness. I mean, the 80s seemed more gay than any other time. We live in a world now, Jamie, it seems, where people are crying about, the gays, it's all new. Where are all the gays coming from? It's like, did you not live through the 80s, people? I mean, Boy George. I mean, Marilyn. Like, you were dancing to their stuff, you fools. Like, you know, Freddie Mercury was wearing a dress and vacuuming. You know, it's bizarre. Yeah. Do you recall the first album that you purchased yourself, and what format was it on?
I I can remember the first single that I bought with my own money.
Yep.
And my mum took me to the shop to buy it, and everyone's going to laugh at me. It was "Give a Little Love" by the Bay City Rollers.
Oh, awesome, man. That's awesome. No, that's cool. When I was young, you know those space hoppers, the inflatable balls with the antenna things you hold and bounce on? My mum bought me a Bay City Rollers space hopper, and it had a photo of him with a background of tartan behind.
Awesome.
I had no fucking clue who they were, but I was bouncing around on my Bay City Rollers space hopper. So don't be ashamed, man. At least you had the music. I had the space hopper, so you did well. So with growing up in this household with this great music and obviously a passion for music, did you take up an instrument in school, or how did you like get into actually making music?
You see, there was, because my parents had been in a band,
Right.
which they actually gave up when I was born. But there was always instruments about, so I used to pick instruments up, and I'd have a bit of a play, and I'd work out something. Or the first thing I ever worked out was I worked out the opening riff to T.Rex's "Get It On."
Yep.
And I remember working that out, for myself on acoustic guitar. But I would play instruments. My mum played piano and organ, but I never really sort of like learnt an instrument properly when I was a little kid. I didn't really do that till I was about 14. I didn't play an instrument at school because music lessons at our school were just shockingly, depressingly awful.
Not the recorder.
It was like, it was recorded.
Of course.
Or it was recorders or piano or violin. Right now, like as an older person now, I actually think it might have been quite cool if I'd have learned the piano or the violin at school. It might have done me some good. But at the time, when I was thinking about what options I wanted to take at school, when I had to decide, what I was going to do, I was listening to like Motley Crue. And, Motley Crue were my favourite band at that time.
Oh, wow.
So, piano, violin, or recorder, So I didn't even take music at school.
Sorry, you've got me thinking. So, do you still love Motley Crue? I want to stick on Motley Crue for a second now.
I still love Motley Crue as they were when they were amazing. I'm not so sure about as they are now.
You mean now like this? What the hell is going on? What is he saying? Sorry. I've hijacked it there. I couldn't help it. I had to do it. Man, I loved Motley Crue too. I saw Motley Crue live a couple of times and saw the revolving drum kit and all that stuff, and thought they were amazing. And wow. So you were listening to Motley Crue at school, and obviously what you were being taught didn't fit in with your taste in music.
No, not one bit. You know, not one bit.
Because it's interesting now, like on your channel, you have been, you know, delving more into electronic music and all that stuff. Because you know you're a band person. You know, you're someone like me. You've played in bands all your life. You probably went through, I don't know, a period. I did myself. Went through a period of time looking at electronic music and going, but they can't play music, can they?
Absolutely, I hated it. I did. I despised it when I was at that time when I was sort of, you know, mid-teens, when I was listening to Motley Crue and Rat and Whitesnake and, you know, Quiet Riot and White Lion and Cinderella and all that 80s stuff. The music in the charts at the time was you got your hair metal stuff. That was like the kind of like the alternative music, and then you got your pissy pant kind of teeny bop pop music, and then the other kind of music was the beginnings of house music.
Yeah.
And I really didn't get that at all. I mean, it was slightly preferable to the teeny bop shite, but I mean, I didn't get it. But now I hear it, and I think, well, that's actually quite brilliant, you know. like Pump Up the Volume was on everything the whole time. You couldn't get away from it. They would very rarely on British TV. They would very rarely show a band like Motley Crue. Yeah. They would avoid it at all costs. But Pump Up the Volume, you could not escape it, and I despised every second of it. And now I hear it and I think, it's actually really clever, you know, like, it's quite brilliant. What was wrong with me?
I feel your pain. I'm sure when Kev Hart watches this, he's going to be going, fucking oath, mate. I can't do his accent. That was a terrible accent. But yeah, I totally feel your pain. So what prompted you to, what's your main instrument? What prompted you to pick up your main instrument that you play?
Well, my main instrument is bass.
Yep.
Undoubtedly is bass guitar. And the way that happened was when I was 14, I saw it was Queen at Wembley '86, and then Christmas that year, number 1 and number 2 in the charts were Europe's Final Countdown and Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer. Right. So that was the catalyst. That was, I saw that and I was like, I'm going to be a rock star. Right? There's nothing else in the world matters to me. I am going to be a multi-million-dollar massive rock star. I'm going to be the biggest rock star in the universe, and that's all I want. Right? Yep. So I decided I was going to be in a band, and I was going to write songs and be a megastar. I didn't actually care what I did. It wasn't one instrument. I mean, I would have played anything just to do that. So I tried everything, and I got a guitar because there was a guitar. Some friend of a friend had an electric guitar going cheap. I got this Hondo 2 Les Paul copy, and I started learning to play that. And I was okay, but I sort of spent a lot more time looking at myself in the mirror, you know, and making sure that I looked cool and my hair was just right.
Didn't we all?
That actually learned how to play a G, you know, and then there was a band at school. There's some bigger boys at school were in a band, and they fell out. They had an argument, and they needed a singer. So my mate was the keyboard player in the band, and he said, would you ever go to singing? And I was like, well, if I get to be in a band, yeah, okay. I'd not really seen myself as being the singer, but I was actually probably the only person who would sing. You know, like we're in sixth form at school, so none of the lads really wanted to sing, and I could sing a bit. So I did that. I joined the band by being the singer, but they wanted to do like they were doing Aussie, they were doing Dio stuff, they were doing Rainbow, White Snake, and all these songs that I
Jesus,
really
make it hard for you.
For.
Yeah, make it hard.
I mean, like my voice, right? I can sing T.Rex songs, you know. I'll sing Tom Petty songs, but I don't have that kind of voice.
Yeah,
so,
Aussie, man. Aussie's tough.
Yeah, they were not interested whatsoever in changing the repertoire to suit how I could sing. And so I started looking at other things, and then one day the bass player didn't turn up for rehearsal, but his stuff was in the rehearsal room. So I just said, right, today I'm going to play bass. So I played bass and sang, and it's just as soon as I played that, you know, big, fat, open E, I was like, oh yeah, this is me, right? I'd never touched the bass before, and straight away I could do it. You know, and so I said to my mate, who was the keyboard player, I just said, you know, I want to play bass. That's what I want to do. You know, I suddenly found what I really wanted to do, but it's going to mess up the band. And he just said, well, if you want to play bass, then we'll make it happen. We'll work it out. So within a couple of weeks, I got a bass, and the band had split up, and we were starting a new band just so I could play bass.
That's very accommodating, though. They're good mates.
It's good mates. It's still a really, really good mate.
So, what was your first band, and do you still play with them?
Well, the first band we called it Aviator, and it was, and that was the school band. That was the school band that I joined. And as singer, and there is a demo tape somewhere with me singing on it, but I wasn't playing bass then. It was just after that. And
when you say somewhere, you know where that is. Is that online?
No, it's not.
All right.
Well, I've not put it online anyway. I've not put it online. I've definitely got a couple of cassettes with that demo on. It's a 3-track demo, and I think it's in the attic.
Right, cool. So I have a few demos too. Do you hold on to a lot of the old stuff that you did, like all your early stuff? Do you have clippings and all that from the early days?
Yeah.
You look like you seem like the person who would do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have. I've got quite a lot of old. Well, I've still got all my cassettes. You know, I've got over 300 cassettes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, just on that, I'm shooting off on different tangents today because that's what we do here on the show. What do you think about apps that use tape warbling and stuff like that? So just on that, because you have a lot of tapes, right? Now, back in the day, we all had cassettes. Any of you who are old enough to remember cassettes, if you're not old enough to remember, I pity you. But you would hear the sounds that we hear in these apps and go, "Oh fuck, my tape's fucked." What are your opinion on these days? How we have so many apps to do those sounds on our songs?
Well, you know, it's curious to me because, like you say, I mean, I had vinyl, and that crackled, and I had tapes, and they warbled, and then CD came out, and it was like awesome, like it was like a revolution, and it sounded awesome, and now of course. Everybody's using these apps to put the warble back in and apps to put the crackle back in.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice here and there used to taste, I, you know the KLM audio apps, the Tape Pro.
Yep.
Using a little bit of that on a synth, you know, for a little bit of warmth here and there, a little bit of coloration. It's nice, but I might upset a lot of people saying this, but I am seeing a fashion for lots of people just putting it on everything all the time, just as like as a matter of course. And to me, that does seem a little bit overkill.
And look, as actually, what you said is absolutely true. There's a time and a place, and Mobile Music Pro. Thank you also, Mobile Music Pro, Vortex, who kindly gave me a super chat earlier. I forgot to mention that. He's written here, certain genres require those sounds, and that's true as well. So definitely not taking away from that, but yeah, it's just interesting. I find these things interesting to talk about. That, you know, we jump from technology to technology, but just like music comes around in like cycles, 20-year cycles, and we come back around to what we were listening to or doing 20 years ago. Is it, I don't know what it is. Is it a pining for the old days sometimes with these apps, or is it just, it's hard to understand. Humans, we're a bunch of fucking crazy beings, yeah. I guess.
It's completely illogical, right? It doesn't make any sense at all. But on the other hand, right, you can't deny that the sounds that we aspire to, the things that inspired us, the sound that we're trying to capture, was recorded with gear. I mean, by huge, enormous, influential bands. Yep. It was recorded by equipment that we would not use now.
Yeah.
You know, like, we would look at it and think, well, that's a piece of shit. I would not use that in my studio. But, you know, like Paul McCartney's bass, you know, the violin bass,
mm-hmm.
It was like impossible to intonate properly. Like, I wouldn't record with the bass like that now.
Yeah.
Right? But these people made these fabulous, great records that mean so much to so many people with shit gear. And those are the sounds that, I mean, like, I love the sound of Beatles records, right? But we can make sounds so much more high fidelity and just better in every way than that now. But somehow, to me, the Beatles records sound better. So, what's that about? I mean, if I was going to make a lo-fi track, I'd put some tape warble on it, right? And we're not recording to tape. So we're not recording, you know, we're not using tapes, are we? So I would use an app that gives me some tape warble to make it sound appropriate.
There's definitely a time and place for it. I'm not shitting on those apps at all. Definitely not. You're starting to sound like Jerry Seinfeld. Cassettes, what's it all about? What's that all about? You know what I mean? You know, we'll jump in, we'll play another one of your songs, and then we'll come back, we'll say hello to everybody in the chat, and then we'll talk a little bit about your music, playing live, and all these amazing things that you've done, if that's okay with you. So if you want to slap your mute, we'll jump over and we'll play, let's see, we'll play It's All Good. So folks, buckle up, and I'll come back and we'll call out your names and we'll say hello to you in just a moment, yeah? Let me sort my shit out here. I think we're doing the right thing. And just hit bang, play.
Whatever you've done, he's done it bigger and better. Whatever you say, he'll criticize you to the letter. Do it his way, or you're just not doing it right. Do it your way. He'll be lecturing you all night, but he's never really been anywhere. And he's never really done anything, but he's a man of opinion. opinion. With his closed mind and his bitter heart, he takes great pleasure in tearing everybody apart. But he's never really been anywhere, and he's never really done anything. But he's a man of opinion. Man of opinion. Stick the knife in as soon as your back is turned. No one's safe. One day he's really gonna get burned. But he's never really been anywhere, and he's never really done anything. Not compensating. He stands up tall. He's got the t-shirts. He knows it all. Man of opinion. Man of opinion. Man of opinion. Man of opinion.
Oh yeah, so that was "It's All Good" by Jamie Mallender, and that was I'll tell you the story. Oh, hang on, what are we doing? That was the coughing mix because Jamie forgot to mute his mic, and I'll tell you before we cut back to him, he was sneaking away. No, it's all good, man. Sneaking away and having a fag out the
I may have had the bag, yes.
It was awesome. I was going to quickly sneak the camera on you and go, look, he's having a fag, everybody. Hey, thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's run through some names. So Ed B, I Have an Idea, Audible Video, Naughty Box, Pete Johns, Greg Hernandez, Russ. If I haven't said your name, just chuck it, say something in the chat so I can catch up with you all. Paul, Colin, Gary Hubbs, Media Web Records. Who else have we got here? Thomas Christ. Doing some desperate scrolling here. Kim Hardin Hudson, who just left. Joshua Good, Stephen Rimmer, Fam, SM Borthwick. Who else have I missed here? I think Joe and Doug are here as well. Pain to get. Let's see. Daniel's here as well. Le Productions. Thank you all for being here. If I've missed you, I'm scrolling up and trying to see as many names as I can. Cy is here as well. Cy, effing good to see you. Joe Glenn. Did I say Colin Powell? There's so many of you here, so thank you for taking the time to hang out with us today. Marcus Manderson, hello. Da Fingers. Mobile Music, Vortex. Who else? Audible Video. Who else? Have I missed anyone else? I'm trying to get you all. But thanks all for being here. So I want to jump in now. I'm going to bring up your website because I'm going to quote here. And I'm going to name drop because, and not get you to. Oops, what are we doing? We want to go to this one here. So it says here in your bio, which I actually used, that you, so you've performed with numerous named artists, including Tony Martin, the former Black Sabbath vocalist. That's pretty damn cool, man. I was pretty, wanted to have a wank over that. It's also, tell us if you want. It says, I'll just go through some of the stuff here. Has toured the world extensively in this capacity, playing with to as many as 15,000 fans at arena shows. Performed with members of T.Rex, Argent, the Kinks, Sensational Alex Harvey Band, the Quireboys, Steely Dan, UK Subs, Venom, Saxon, man, Saxon. What the hell? Bad Company and Dave Berry. Wow, man, what an impressive list of artists you've been around. And
yeah, I mean, I just feel very, very fortunate to have been able to have done all that.
As Vortex has written here, Jamie, the real life rock star. Yeah, I mean, you are. And I think what's interesting too, from my time knowing you, you are not one of these people who, acts like you're better than anybody else, or, you've accomplished quite a lot in the music industry, and you never come across as arrogant or anything like that, and very, very humble. I mean, it's only when I started researching you a lot more and going, holy shit, I just hear the stuff you say, oh, yeah, I'm just a bloody old hippie or something. And I'm just like, what? What, dude? Yeah, so Quireboys. This is the Quireboys Run to Paradise, yeah? Pete Johns has just asked, yeah. Holy shit.
It's Quireboys now, 7 o'clock, it's time for a party and all that.
Saxon, man. Even Saxon, like in my band, Filthy Maggoty, we have a song called Saxon about how cool Saxon is.
Yeah, that was actually stepping in on bass for Saxon was one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done. The curious thing about it is, right, because I endorse the vintage guitars and Fret King guitars, and Graham Oliver from Saxon is an endorsee for them as well. And so I got to know him a bit through that, because they do shows, or at least they used to do shows every year, where all the endorsees would get together and jam, and all the shops that buy the guitars in would be the guests, and so I got to jam with Graham Oliver, and I got to know him a little bit. And then every now and again he would call me, like he might call me and say, Jamie, what do you think of this pedal? Shall I get one? And it was always like he'd call me, and so my phone says Graham Oliver, right?
Yeah, wow.
Like, I can't get over this, And then when I answered the phone, he'd always be like really, really polite and nice, and just, have you got 2 minutes, Jamie? I just want to ask you something. And have I got 2 minutes for Graham Oliver? And then,
I've got it all the time.
And then one day he just called me and he said that their bass player, they got this gig, they got like a festival gig, and the bass player had an operation on his knee, and it had not gone well, and he couldn't stand, and he just wondered if I might want to stand in. And I think it was 2 or 3 days I'd got to learn the set, so there was no time to rehearse or anything. So he gave me a set list. It was a full show.
Yeah, right.
And
hardcore.
I just learned all the songs, and I just went and did it.
Fucking, that's sick, man.
Just went and did it.
Like, and then, Venom too, man. Venom were like one of the most influential bands for me that got into metal. Like, they were the original satanic metal and now you listen back to them and go, oh fuck, they really weren't that satanic, were they? But
well, the drummer from Venom, the guy who drums for them now, who's been with them quite a while, is one of my best friends. He grew up in the same city as me, and we did the Tony Martin band together. So
fucking hell, man.
Yeah, he's a absolutely tremendous bloke, and a phenomenal, amazing drummer.
Yeah, well, got a massive influence on my musical turnaround. I was listening to 80s electronic music on the radio, and then somebody went, hey, listen to this stuff. And I was like, oh, fucking changed my entire music history. And that's why I sit here now going, doing crazy growls that stemmed from bands like Venom, Unbelievable. So, it says here you've played, in front of, crowds like 15,000 fans. a lot of us, many people don't get to do that. Explain like the feeling of playing to that many kind of people. What's that to you?
Well, it's in one way, it's just like playing any other gig, because you do exactly the same thing. But the very first time I did an enormous show was in Russia, and because I was doing the first Tony Martin tour, the first time that we went on tour, and we actually went around in a van and did loads of countries, and we're on the road for quite a while. And then we flew to Russia and we did a club show, and then the next night was this huge arena, and so it was, I think the most I'd played to before that was probably maybe a couple of thousand people, and then we went and did this enormous ice hockey stadium.
Wow.
Which was packed, sold out, and the feeling that my feeling was when the intro tape, because it's a Black Sabbath set, so the intro tape's on and it's all spooky and there's smoke and it's pitch black, so you go out and you get your instrument and you get ready to play, and the lights come up and you hit the first note, and this just this sea of people, like you can't even see the back of it, and the feeling was, for me, was like, yeah, this is what I always wanted to do. I've arrived. Yeah, I finally got what I wanted.
The other word for arrive is come, and I finally come. Yeah, look, I've had the privilege of playing big festivals, like at the Big Day Out here in Australia, and got to open at a big Mardi Gras here in front of like 17,000 people, and it is, yeah, there's no amount of sex that can ever amount to it, unless you have the sex directly after the gig. Walk straight off the stage and fuck someone. That's the only time it's better. Has to be a package, I guess. Dude, I'm incredibly impressed by your body of work and just how humble you are. So it's an absolute credit to you. You've released a lot of albums as well too. When did you start actually creating your own music? So obviously you've released music with bands. You've released solo music. So what?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the journey of releasing your first kind of album with, I guess in the old days would have been in a studio in a band, to where we're at now with recording solo music. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, like when I first started, it was you saved up money.
Yeah.
Right? You did gigs for shit money, and you saved up that money, and then you went into a bricks and mortar studio and made a demo as quickly as you possibly could, because it was so expensive.
Yeah.
And I did a few of those early on. I got some nice recordings out of it, but what actually happened to us was, I was in a band that was really promising. We were sort of like a cross between like Rainbow and Magnum. We're driving for that sort of Bon Jovi crowd. That was because that was the time. But then the grunge thing happened, and we were, we all had enormous hair and cowboy boots, and I used to look like I was like part of Dave Lee Roth's band. Right, that was the look. And
man,
so
we've all been there.
Killed us off. What?
We've all been there, man.
Yeah. It killed us off, and that band finished, and I didn't know what to do next, and I became a bass player for hire, and from there I just worked for people, and made eventually I turned pro, and I did that for a full-time living. And then much later on, I kind of arrived at a point where I started to really beat myself up about the fact that I'd never pursued my own original stuff. And I really felt it was time for me to start recording some stuff, because all I'd done was work for everybody. And, you know, I contributed to their output, but I really felt it was time to start getting my stuff recorded. And so I got a desktop, and got a little Tascam interface and some software, and I started recording. And it really became a big passion for me. And but it was slow. It was really slow at first, because, you know, I had a lot to learn. I'd never done it for myself before. Certainly not with computer gear, you know.
Yep.
But for me, since I started to get into the iPad recording, it's accelerated everything. I record much quicker, and I get a lot more out.
Yeah, definitely. So how long have you actually been making music on iOS?
For a few years. I think it's probably about. I first started looking into it about 5 years ago, and it really took over from the computer about maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, it's about 3 years, I'd say.
It's bizarre, yeah, because like I you know, I certainly didn't play in Saxon or Venom or anything like that, but I've got to open for quite a few big bands in my time, and, you know, touring bands, and done the whole studio thing, and we probably followed a very similar trajectory in life. Then I got a home studio and bought a PC, and I've recorded albums on that too. It is bizarre going from a home studio with a PC to iOS, how incredibly hard I find it to go back to a PC. Even though I have a PC that's capable and have all of the fantastic stuff on there, I think about it and go, fuck, it's just going to be fucking time consuming and really hard. It just seems like there's too many extra hurdles. What are your thoughts on that?
It is strange, because I mean, on my desktop I've got Native Instruments Complete, which is amazing. I mean, it's wonderful, and I keep thinking, you know, one of these days I should use that again. But I don't know what it is. I just find the computer is a ball ache in comparison to working with iOS. iOS is so quick. I mean, how long does it take to boot up an iPad?
Yeah.
You know, and every time I boot up the computer, something wants updating, something needs a download, something needs fixing. You know, but I think that's one of the nice things about moving to Apple, because like I was always that guy who would never buy anything Apple, because I liked the idea that my desktop, I could, you know, if I needed a better graphics card, I could like rip the card out, stick a new one in, sort it all out myself, and I could, you know, I could do whatever I wanted with it, and it was whereas like Apple stuff, it's more of a kind of everything's locked down.
Yep.
And I really didn't like that idea. But my missus bought me the original iPad Air, and I just sort of, because the Air 2 had just come out, so she bought me the Air because they were doing an amazing deal on it, because it had just become like, you know, the last iPad. And so as soon as I got it, you know, being a musician, I was digging into it, trying to figure out what I could do with it musically. It wasn't bought for that, but so I had a look on YouTube, found Doug, found Hack Attack, and started learning stuff like that, you know, and just found everything really quick and easy. And so since then, I mean, my desktop, it don't get switched on for months.
Yeah, and you mentioned, about the upgradability of PCs and stuff. I think, and I remember when I first got into iOS as well, and the whole, there's always going to be these factions of people who are like, but I like this and that sucks. And, I've always tried to steer clear. I've said on this show before, I used to have a friend on Facebook. Every time I did an iOS post, which was never like big noting Apple and going, Apple are the best, go and buy it. I'd just say, look what I made using an iPhone. How unbelievable is this? But there was this asshole who used to be on my friends list who'd every post go, yeah, but Android lets you cut. And I'd think, what the fuck? Why are you so angry about fucking what phone I use to make something? But here's the thing. People go on about customization and being able to upgrade and do these things. And I think those people tend to get stuck in the rut of like, gas buying too much gear and ass buying too many apps, where you're not really making stuff because you're continuously upgrading everything and there's no time to make anything. Where I think with Apple, having that walled garden and a level of like, I know my boundaries, and you have to work around a lot to make music with Apple. Yeah, there's a lot of workarounds you have to do, and that just makes the product better. Have you found since moving to iOS that your creativity has improved?
Massively, yeah. Because the thing about creativity is that when it hits you, the quicker you can get it down or start a project and get something rough down, the quicker you can do that, the more likely that is to become an actual track. And because for me the workflow and everything on iOS is so much quicker, absolutely. And I would rather have that than a much more massively capable device. I mean, some of my friends are always telling me, oh yeah, but my computer, it's got this much RAM and and it's got this and it's got that, and you can't do that in your iPad. But these people don't put recordings out. It's just a fact. I know a guy, no word of a lie, I know a guy who has got a recording studio and he has got millions of pounds worth of stuff in it, and I mean millions. This guy has got everything, the best of everything, but his recordings sound like demos. Right? So, it's not just about how much power you've got, right? It's about what you do with it.
There's a fact in life, folks. There are some people out there who like to call themselves gearheads, and they buy so much gear and they have all the gear in the world and they can't play music for shit. It's true. I've come across them. I've worked in their studios and they've got rack mounts and fucking all this stuff, and everything they write is utter crap. Nobody wants to listen to it. It's just like, and you know what? People just go, yeah, that's good. And they don't have the balls to tell them because they've got a great studio that I want to record in. But stop making music, buddy. You suck. Stick to the gear. So, since moving to iOS 2, it's also opened up other avenues for you because you created your YouTube channel, which now, like what I do here, what Doug, what Pete Johns, what Jacob does, you help people understand, or how they too can make music as well. How did you fall into doing that?
Well, I'll tell you, right. I always wanted to do YouTube, right?
Yeah.
I've actually had the YouTube channel now for a very long. I've had a YouTube channel for over 10 years.
Right.
And when I first got it, I got it because I recorded something and I wanted to do a video for it, and so when I've made the video, I needed somewhere to host it. So I got YouTube so that I could host that YouTube video in my website. And then a couple of my endorsements wanted like videos of me playing their stuff. So I made a couple of videos and I put it on YouTube and shared it with them, you know. And I used YouTube now and again for bits and bobs, but I always kind of had this, you know, I wanted to do YouTube, but it was something I just kept putting off because I thought, well, you know, I need a reason, I need a, you know, what am I going to be all about? And then to be honest, I had a few attempts at getting it started and doing it, and then I really wasn't very sure of myself. And then at the beginning of lockdown, I just thought, you know, I've got all this time all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do YouTube. And what shall I do? And at the time, I was really, really enjoying, you know, some of the stuff I was doing with iOS. So I thought, well, I'll make a couple of videos about, like, iOS software and see how it goes. And I did that, and it seemed to go pretty well. And I made another, and that seemed to be working for me. And I always feel, you know, like sometimes don't make a plan, right? Plans are folly, right? Just do something and see if it works because you feel like it.
Yeah.
And it worked, and so that gives me a path to follow, you know. And I'm still really, really enjoying it, and I love teaching because, you know, my main thing apart from gigging is I teach guitar and I teach bass, and I really, really enjoy teaching. And so, you know, it's just another way of teaching, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. Like, I'll put a video out, and I always say, you know, if anyone has any further questions about how to use this app, then comment, and I'll get back to you. I'll help you, or you can email me, or you can get me on social media, whatever. I enjoy helping people. So, yeah, I'm just really enjoying it, and that's why I'm still doing it.
How long have you been teaching music for?
Well, I started. I had hang on, wait a minute. How old's Layla? Layla's 12. So I started when she was when my middle kid was a baby. So about 12 years.
I love it. Remember,
yeah.
Kids are perfect for that, aren't they? Because everything else before kids you can't remember.
Yeah.
It's like before Christ and after Christ, before kids and after kids. Everything is so much easier to remember with kids.
Absolutely. Before Layla and after Layla.
Yeah. I love it. And so how was going through COVID, how did you deal with not being able to teach during that time? Was that one of the factors for the YouTube channel as well?
Yeah, because at first, you know, when lockdown first happened, then, you know, people couldn't come here for the lessons, you know, to my studio, and I couldn't gig, so I had all this time. And then what I did was I started getting some of my students to have lessons on Skype, but unfortunately, not that many of them wanted to do it at first. So it was a very lean time financially.
Yep.
But then over a few weeks, a few more came around to the idea. But I have a lot of students who are older, and the older students didn't want to have their lesson, you know, like on their phone. You know, we can't. I've just had to understand. You know, I've just had to be understanding about it. I get it, but I mean, and some of those people are still not coming back for lessons, and hopefully most of them will soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's. But you know, I mean, I can't complain too much. I'm a self-employed guy, so I get a bit of help from the government. So we get these little payouts, and I do have a few students who've been regular on Skype. So, you know, we've got by. But I've missed people.
Well, that's interesting because, I do miss some people. But every time I tend to go out, since we've been allowed out, I come back home going, fuck, I hate people. Maybe it's just the people around at the moment who would seem like crazy ass motherfuckers. But I do. I miss people before COVID. I don't know what it is about people after. They seem a bit like something happened.
Well, it has definitely sent some people crazy.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, there's a pub just down the road, and the way you see some people behaving now, because they can get out now and they can go to the pub. It's like they've never had a drink before.
And it's only been a year, but I guess that shows, how easily we forget, like how short-term memory people seem to have these days. Like they forget, things they didn't like or were angry about. It seems 2 weeks later they've just forgotten about, and short attention spans is what I think I'm getting at. We seem to be having shorter and shorter. We're becoming goldfish, I think.
Yes.
But less attractive than goldfish. So we're at the point of the show now where I'm going to put you on the spot and normally ask, what are about 5 to 10, around that number, just some of the apps on iOS that you love, yeah?
Okay.
And I'll bring them up on the screen as you were doing it live, as usual.
Okay. Well, can I just tell you, I've lost so much sleep trying to decide what my favourite apps are.
No.
Because I need to choose about 50. So, it's really difficult because there's so many wonderful ones, and there are so many developers who have been really nice to me and very generous.
Sure.
And so, for some of them not picking one of their apps as a favorite is going to really upset me. But I'm going to say this, right? I'm going to say Touchscaper.
Oh, yeah, excellent. And it's not going to come. Oh, I spelt it wrong. Wow. That would help, hey? Yeah, why?
Because it completely embraces what the iPad is.
Yeah, it absolutely. It takes the whole interface and makes it. It doesn't try to cram in a guitar into an app kind of thing. Yeah, it's a absolutely amazing. I still haven't done a show on it because so many people have, and it's such a beautiful app. And for some reason, is anyone else having this issue? I'll just bring this up now. With the App Store lately not displaying photos, it seems like Apple's having a whole bunch of issues with the music app and the App Store not displaying all their photos. It's weird. I know. But yeah,
I don't know. I think mine's okay, but I'm on 13.6,
yeah.
And I think although I'm kind of like a little bit in the Stone Age iOS wise, everything's working a lot better on my iPad
than other people. Well, they're actually about to release iOS 14.7 either tomorrow or early next week. It's just reached the RC version. Who knows if they're going to fix shit? I'm not holding my breath.
I'm waiting.
What else have you got in your bag of tricks there?
Okay, for exactly the same reason, I'm going to say Mononike.
Oh, yeah.
Because, just like with Touchscaper, it embraces exactly what the iPad is. It's a touch screen instrument. But the reason I love it so much is because, to me, it is an instrument. It's not an emulation of anything. It's not a recreation of anything. It is its own brand new, unique instrument. It's a touchscreen device, and you touch the screen.
Absolutely.
You bend notes. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite apps. I talk about it a lot on the show, and for some reason my app store's just not bringing up any images at the moment. So I'll just open it up quickly. There it is. I think this app is absolutely beautiful. The first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell is this, man? This is just takes music creation completely and turns it on its head and gives you just a new way to look at music, which is something that Apple does really well, or Apple allows developers to do really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, as you can see, my images maybe it's just my internet today. So, anything else?
Yes, I'm going to say AUM.
Oh yeah.
Which is an app that, you know, when people ask me what I use and what my favorite apps are, I think about the drum apps, and I think about the synth apps, you know, and the guitar stuff, and I don't tend to think about AUM because in itself it's kind of a boring thing, you know what I mean? It's like a blank page, but that's the beauty of it. And I honestly think that if it wasn't for AUM, I think a lot of people who are serious about music, who've tried to do music on iOS, if it wasn't for AUM, I think a lot of them would have abandoned it. Because AUM works.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. AUM and Audio Share, made by the same people, two of the most stable apps for music creation. If you don't have them, I don't know what to tell you. You need to slap yourself in the face a few times and download them.
Yeah, one of my very favorite things to do is to try to use AUM as a digital audio workstation. You know, I've tried all kinds of things. You know, and it's getting closer and closer with things like LK and Helium and Atom. You know, multi-track.
Yeah,
I love doing it.
Yeah, looking at, and it's a great thing for people like us who do shows who are showing off apps. Like, it's amazing for really just showing things off and showing the capabilities of things and connecting things that shouldn't work, like, together.
Yeah.
Like, it's a beautiful app. You know, Jamie, I held off on getting into it for a really long time. I had it for like 2 years, and every time I opened it, I was like, I'm afraid of it. And it's bizarre how you get like that with certain things. And then as soon as I actually started to work it out, thanks to Doug, and there's somebody else who did a whole bunch of shows. I think it was Jacob Hack, I think, as well. It was just, oh my God, why have I left this for so long? Yeah, great choice. What else have you got in your bag of tricks?
Well, I'm going to have to say Nambrini's Black Ice bass amp. Although the one thing that is not catered well for on iOS is bass guitar.
Yeah, definitely.
There are only a couple of standalone, seriously high quality amps. Black Ice being one of them, Mammoth being the other. You know,
Mammoth's great too.
There's also actually that Bass Deluxe amp.
Yep.
Is very good. That's really very good. But then, you know, other than that, all you've got is some of the bass stuff that's in like your Guitar Rig style apps, which for some reason, you know, when you buy an app like that, the bass stuff is never included. So you if you're a bass player, it immediately costs you again. And you know, there's some decent stuff. The bass stuff in Tone Stack Pro is pretty good. But I personally, I would rather have, you know, for serious recording of bass, I'd rather have like these standalone amps. And there just aren't many of them.
Yeah, look, it's definitely a market that is overlooked for some apparent reason. There's some great bass simulation kind of apps, you know, like iBassist, these kind of things too. But bass amps just seem to get overlooked. I don't understand why, because there's so much potential. I love this app as well. I think this is great. Mammoth is awesome too. Why do you think that is, that bass amps are overlooked? Or bass players are overlooked?
I mean, for me, you know, I take part in a lot of the iOS, you know, communities, like the Facebook groups and stuff. And the vast majority of people seem to be making electronic music on iOS. there are plenty of guitar players and that, but I mean, there aren't. In comparison to the people who were making the electronic music, I think we're a minority. And of course, there are a lot fewer bass players than there are guitar players. So it's a minority thing, I think.
Right.
But the reason I like the Black Ice amp so much is because it sounds incredibly pro and you can get a great range of tones out of it.
Yep. And that's what you want from a... Do you use iOS for live gigging or not? Or are you still on old school pedals?
I've used it a couple of times for acoustic gigs, and what I do is I use my iRig Pro Duo, and I've got AUM open, and I've just got like a channel for my acoustic guitar and a channel for my voice, and I'm using like iOS effects on both. Actually, last time I did that, I used Mixbox on both, and it sounded incredible. And so I was actually I worked out how to, in AUM, you can have like a little dot to switch like one thing on or off, in and out.
Yep.
And I used it to switch my reverb on and off, and I felt very clever. Dot. Made me smile through the whole gig, like nobody in the audience would have understood that at all.
I could just
switching my reverb on, because the thing is, when I do an acoustic gig, I'm sat, right? I do it totally laid back. I'm sat.
Yeah. I've
got my iPad, my volumes and my dot, and occasionally if I'm doing the song where I'm not 100% on the words, I'll have the words on my iPad, but mostly I know my words, but I might just like write the first little bit of a few lines that I'm a bit ropey on, and it's there on my iPad, and yeah. The more time passes, the more I'm inseparable from my iPad.
Every time I open AUM now and see that dot, I'm going to think of you on stage. Hitting it, and then as you're playing, getting this smile on your face going, dot.
Well, there's nothing worse than somebody talking to the audience with the reverb and the delay still on.
Thank you, everybody, for that round of applause. Oh, hang on a minute. The dot. Yeah. So, what else have you got in your bag of tricks?
I've forgotten now. I loved the Bliss phaser. I love the Bliss apps. They're all stunning, but I think the phaser is the one that for me is just that's the one I wouldn't want to be without.
Yeah, right. So you, yeah, like they make some incredible apps. There's no doubt about that. Like they're I think what I really love about Bliss too is their interfaces are really something to aspire to. They really make beautiful interfaces that are engaging, colorful, and you don't get lost with them. Like, there are apps that overcomplicate things, and I think Bliss really has that down of making you feel comfortable with every one of their apps.
Yeah, definitely.
Go for it.
And Tal. Yeah. The Tal Alex thing.
No. How do I spell it?
Hang on. I'm looking for it on my iPad.
I was actually going to write the word towel.
Right. It's tal-u-no.lx.
Oh, towel. T-A-L.
Yeah. What did you think I said?
Like towel.
Oh,
like you know, like 42. Like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm thinking, what do you take your towel everywhere that you go? Hey man, it's early. It's 7:27 a.m. I'm still coming down off a week of painkillers. My brain's fried. What do you love about this app? I don't have this, I don't think. No, I don't.
I love it because when we were forming our first band, right, when we were still at school, and the keyboard player had like a toy synth. He had like this. That's all he had was like a little Casio mini key thing, you know.
Yeah.
And he was playing. We were learning to sing Van Malmsteen song, and he was playing all the keyboard runs on that and Rainbow stuff, you know, and Deep Purple. And so the first really proper synth that he got was a second-hand Juno. And so that became like a really big part of our sound. And so when I got Tal, it reminds me of those days, you know, when we started, when we were young and innocent and we were going to be megastars. You know? It just reminds me of those days because they were really, really just great times. So it's like a sentimental thing for me. But for me, you know, I'm not a synth expert or anything, but it sounds just like a Juno.
Yeah. I'm going to have to check it out now. Have you got anything else? I know you've got 50 of them.
Well, yeah, you know.
But we could go on forever.
Suppose, you know, but you know.
What's the one? What is there one that you can't live without that you use every single day?
I suppose that would be AUM.
Yep.
Really. Yeah, that would be AUM. I do use AUM for, and in fact, an awful lot of things that I might end up creating in another app. I might start in AUM. But yeah, you know, and I'll tell you one more.
Yeah.
One more that I just got, and I absolutely love is Lunar Lander, and
Yeah.
I think that's going to become an app that I use on absolutely loads of stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm doing a show on it coming up in a couple of days' time. There it is there. And the images aren't loading as well for some apparent reason. Yeah, it's amazing. Unfortunately, how sucky was it? Like when it came out that the in-app purchasing wasn't working, but it took a few updates. Yeah. But we got there. So it's now working. What do you like about it?
It does work now. We ought to tell people just in case there's anyone in the chat who has struggled with it who doesn't know that if you tried to buy the in-app purchase and you didn't get it because it didn't work, but you paid for it, if you go and try and get it again, it will tell you that it's going to charge you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't charge you again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's one thing the developer told me too. So just make sure, don't be afraid of it. It will work. He had some issues with it. I think he even got in another developer to help sort through the code to get it sorted out. What a pain in the ass. Who knows what it was? If it's Apple, we'll just blame Apple. We'll blame them for everything. I reckon that's a fair thing. Yeah, but it's a really cool delay. Oh man, there's so many cool delays and so many fantastic reverbs out there. I was really stupid. Early in my time doing this show, I made the dumb comment saying, I don't see why everybody's into reverbs and stuff like that. And I really was never a big reverb person, you know. I just wasn't. And then I downloaded Black Hole and went, what?
Yeah.
And then
I know.
Altether as well. I was like, oh my God. And now I'm just totally addicted to reverb. It is, you know.
Yeah. I was stunned because I was probably a bit the same. I always just like looked for a nice reverb I wasn't really looking for for it to do anything special or looking for any character from it or anything. I just wanted like a reverb, right? That just worked and made everything sound better. And I think actually the first time I actually spent a lot of time working with a reverb and really learning what it could do was probably the Bliss reverb. And I learned so much from Pissy Panting About with that. You know, I built like a drum kit in Cubasis 3 out of Strange Noises. You know, I used Strange Noises as drums.
Yeah, I remember.
Then I had like everything on separate tracks, and I used the reverb, and I went through like a stunning amount of possibilities for every single component part of the kit, and it drastically changed the sound of every part of that kit, and it ended up sounding like out of this world. And I never had realized that you could do so much sound sculpting just with reverb.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, because I would always hear people throughout my time in studios saying, you know, I will just throw some reverb on it and stuff like that. And I was always of the opinion, I guess still like I am now, well, you should need to be able to have to throw reverb on it to sound fucking good. Like, if it sounds shit and you're needing to throw reverb on it, maybe we'll re-record it. Like, but now, like, I understand that reverb is an enhancement thing, and as you said, it can sculpt and take sounds to another completely different place. I think that's where I get the joy out of reverb. You know. So look, if you are using reverb to cover up a bad performance, stop it. Be kind to yourself. Just do it again. You've got unlimited tries.
Yeah.
We're at the end, so at the 1.5 minute mark. I want to firstly thank you very much for your time to come onto the show today. Thank you so much for being candid and talking about all your musical talents and stuff. And I hope everybody's will go ahead and click all the links that I provided in the description and go and support Jamie. Go download all his music. Go buy some music. Get some merch, some of his Pissy Pants About merch and all that kind of stuff, because as you can tell, not only is he an incredibly talented artist, but a really beautiful, genuine soul. And I thank you so much for coming on. Just awesome that you've come on. So thank you very much. I do have one last question for you, and I'm sure we call it now Doug's question. It's the infamous question where Doug called me a dickhead. So Jamie, if the answer, we all know the answer to it. That's the thing. If you've been watching long enough, if somebody is considering becoming creative, when would you think or tell them would be the best time to start being creative?
I would say immediately. Do not Pissy Pants About.
Yes, that's what I wanted.
People always think that they need certain things to be creative, right? They always think, oh, I need that particular door that everyone talks about, or I need this, I need this interface, I need lessons. You don't actually need anything at all to be creative. In fact, you don't even need to be able to play. You know, creativity is about ideas and inspiration. And I suggest that you start immediately and just get on with it. You know?
Don't Pissy Pants About. That I'm so glad you said it, because it's true. It is true. And, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm guilty for doing a show every day where I'm shoving apps down everybody's throat. And hey, you get app acquisition syndrome, you know, and it sometimes can hold you up on actually being creative because you're so busy chasing the next app. You don't need them all. They're not Pokemon. They're not Pokemon. The newest one is not going to make things much better unless the current one you're using sucks balls. So once again, and thank you everybody for being here. Thanks so much to everybody in the chat for hanging out. Love all of you for being here. Thanks for always supporting the channel as well. I hope you've had fun and enjoyed the interview. I can see lots of people are saying they did. We're going to go out today because I picked this song. And I just think it's relevant to what's going on in the world. So this is a older track of yours called The Center of the Universe. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this track?
Yeah, this this track happened because of well, right, okay. So I always like to try and write stuff about something real.
Yep.
Something that actually happened or something that I actually believe. And what actually happened was I had an argument with someone who had seen something that I wrote on Facebook. And I'd kind of written this, you know, like when you kind of write something and it's about someone, but you don't say who it's about. And it's too easy to do it on Facebook, and I don't do that anymore. Yeah. Right? Right? But,
yeah.
But this guy saw it and thought it was about him.
Oh no!
And it wasn't about him at all. Sincerely, honestly, it wasn't. But he attacked me with like both barrels, like proper, really, really aggressively. And so, I just thought, you know, why does this guy think it's all about him? You know, and I just put, dude, you are not the center of the universe, right? I pressed enter and I left him to his rant because I don't get too involved in all that stuff. If people want to rant, they can, but you know, I won't be listening. And then a little while after, I thought, well, that's a really good idea for a song, you know. And so I wrote the song, and actually that's the first song I ever recorded a slide guitar.
Awesome. So, are you still friends with this person?
Yeah.
Do they think this song is about them?
Never mentioned it.
They do now. Well, thank you very much, Jamie. Thanks for hanging out today. It's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, and I'll let you know too. We'll stay on the line, so we'll play this song and see you later, everybody. Thank you for being here. So we'll say goodbye now, and stay on the line. And you might want to mute your mic just in case.
Oh yeah,
we'll do that now. Take care, everybody. I won't be here on the weekend. I'll see you all. I think Sunday for those living in the past, and we'll be back again. So I take the weekends off now just to recover and stuff like that, and be a bit more creative myself. So, as usual, folks, do things that make you happy, make mistakes, they make you better, and be good to yourself and everyone around you. And we'll see you next time. And this is The Center of the Universe by Jamie Mallender. See you later, everybody.
Later.
Say anything you want to say, but that doesn't make it true. And you can play any game you want to play, but that doesn't mean I have to take it from you. Twist the facts, put me in the wrong. Say I was the bad guy all along. 'Cause I'm an honest man with nothing to hide. I hold my treat people how you'd like to be treated in return, or the emptiness will haunt you and the loneliness will burn. There was a time you were my hero. I would have done anything for you, but then you dropped me like a zero. Loyalty and integrity mean nothing to you. Those caught in the crossfire keep their heads down, afraid to do the right thing. They know you're a phony, you're a pretender. That's why you control everything. And the truth will burn you all in good time. The center of the universe will sing the loneliest rhyme. Treat people how you'd like to be treated in return, or the emptiness will haunt you and the loneliness will burn. Twist the facts, put me in the wrong. Say I was the bad guy all along. They know you're a phony, you're a pretender. That's why you control everything. Let's hear you sing. And the truth